Hello, my friends. Today is the first video I'm gonna make about a non-Beatles record and a non-Beatles artist. This is album chat and review for Led Zeppelin, released in 1969. It was Led Zeppelin's debut album. Before we start, I just gotta say I'm a little bit tired today, so if I'm not as fast as the usual, which is already not that fast, please bear with me. However, I really want to record this video because I love Led Zeppelin and the album and the band. So before we start talking about what I think of the album, let's have a little chat about how Led Zeppelin came to be. Actually, what happened is Jimmy Page, who's the guitarist for Yardbirds at the time. Yardbirds was a really big act, a British act from the 60s. He wanted to form a new group after Yardbirds, just stopped playing. All of a sudden they just stopped playing and Jimmy wanted to form a new group. So he got together with Chris Dreja, who's the bassist for the Yardbirds, who was the bassist anyway. And they started inviting people. All of a sudden they had Robert Plant and John Bonham, vocalist and drummer respectively, who were in another band together. And everything was going out fine. Chris actually, if I'm not mistaken, played some concerts with them, but all of a sudden he didn't want to be in a band anymore. He wanted to become a photographer, which means that they needed to invite another bassist. So they invited John Paul Jones. That's how Led Zeppelin's lineup came to be. And to be honest, I'm not a huge, I don't have that much knowledge about, every single rock band in the world, but I'm pretty sure Led Zeppelin has the strongest lineup of all time after the Beatles, because you can't beat Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison and Starr, but they have such a technical and almost magical feeling to their songs, and they play so damn well. They're so great musicians. That's what I feel anyway. I think that talking about musicianship and being the best at their instruments, I think Led Zeppelin are the greatest in the world, because the Beatles were never virtuosos, we all know that. And I think the other band that kind of achieved the same technical level that Led Zeppelin achieved was Cream, which was known as the world's first supergroup. So, talking about Led Zeppelin, the album, it was recorded, if I'm not mistaken, in 68, started recording 68, and Jimmy Page, the guitarist, and their manager Peter Grant bought the sessions with their own money. They didn't have a publisher at the time, a label. I'm sorry, it's not a publisher, it's a label. They didn't have a label at the time. However, Peter Grant actually managed to get a contract with Atlantis Records, and it was a $1 million contract. $1 million contract. At the time, it was less money, but if you put it in today's money, it's 1 million, which was the biggest contract value of all time at the time. So they all knew that they were gonna make it big, huge. So the critics, though, didn't like it very much. It had poor reviews, which to me doesn't make sense. I mean, in 1969, we already had a lot of really heavy rock, although I do agree with some that say that Led Zeppelin was the first hard rock or heavy metal album. I agree with that. It was extremely heavy for the time. So maybe they just didn't get it. I don't know. About the artwork, I love this image. Of course, this image is famous, was already famous from the Hindenburg disaster, I think. And back here we have a picture of the band. So John Bonham, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and Jimmy Page. And that's it, actually. We don't have any other thing inside. It's not a gatefold. We just have the record, which is on the Atlantic label. This is not a original pressing, and I'm pretty sure this is a 2011 re-release. I'm looking for it here, but it doesn't appear anywhere. But yeah, it's not an original. I'm sure about that. I just don't know the year it was released. One fun fact is that Glenn Johns was the engineer for Led Zeppelin. The producer was Jimmy Page. He is a producer, but Glenn Johns was the engineer. And if you guys like the Beatles, you know that Glenn Johns was the producer of the Beatles' Get Back session. So he appears extensively on the Get Back documentary, which is pretty fun. Now, I think we can go on to the songs. Starting with side one, Good Times, Bad Times. And I gotta say, this is one of the greatest songs in rock and roll. I'm pretty sure about that. Just because it's probably the best album opener of a debut album of all time. This was the first song you ever heard from Led Zeppelin, and it's Good Times, Bad Times. And I just gotta say right now, John Bonham is a beast. He is totally the greatest drummer of all time, and he is my favorite drummer. So I'm pretty sure that I would point out to Bonham's performance on literally every single song here. I just gotta say, he is, for me, the vital core of Led Zeppelin. Which makes sense then that they stopped doing Led Zeppelin when he died. So Good Times, Bad Times. This is a good moment, an important moment for drumming too, because Bonham's triplets were first played. And if you guys don't know, a triplet is when you kick 3 times really fast. That's the best explanation I can give. And of course, I know it wasn't the first time it was played. It already existed before. But Bonham was so influential on other drummers that this is just too important. It can't be denied, Also, the solo rocks. Number 2, Baby, I'm Gonna Leave You. This is a more slow track that has 6 minutes and 42. So we have some really extensive songs here. And I actually don't have much to say about Baby, I'm Gonna Leave You. I like it, but I just don't think it's up there as one of the album's greatest. Number 3, You Shook Me. Oh my god, this is such a good tune. So bluesy, so extremely bluesy. And it's one of my favorites, I'm pretty sure, not just from Led Zeppelin 1, from their entire catalog actually. And it reminds me a lot of I Want You, She's So Heavy, just because the guitar plays the same melody as the vocals are singing them. And I just think it's such a cool effect. It sounds great. It sounds extremely bluesy. I have some notes here, and I've written down something yesterday that I don't know what it is. Okay, I got it now. One of my favorite highlights of this song is when um, Robert Plant just sings "Babe, babe, babe," you know. It's great. Um, what else? Dazed and Confused. This is number 4. Um, this is funny here because we all know that Led Zeppelin has a reputation of stealing some things from blues artists, and you know, this has to be said. And so it's written here, for example, Dazed and Confused by Page, inspired by Jake Holmes. Dazed and Confused. I think the bass really shines on that one. Just the initial um, bass line, boom, 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 boom. Just it's the perfect beginning to a song, an epic song that goes on for 6 minutes and a half. And I think the length is justified. This one. The vocals and the guitar, they play with each other very well too, and of course again John Bonham on drums. So side 1 has these 4 songs: Good Times, Bad Times, Baby I'm Gonna Leave You, You Shook Me, Dazed and Confused. And I prefer side 1 to side 2. Actually, it's really good. Side 2 starts with Your Time Is Gonna Come, which to me has a lot of Led Zeppelin 3 vibes. I don't know if you guys agree with me. And I think it's extremely underrated. It's so fun. The chorus, Your Time Is Gonna Come, has a fun feeling to it, although the message isn't as fun as, you know, the feeling. And it just has this extremely cool transition to Black Mountainside, which is number 2 on side 2. And I love the acoustic guitar. Jimmy Page is a monster. And of course, this has a tabla, which is an Indian instrument. So maybe the Beatles kind of influenced that. I'm pretty sure, you know, we could say that the Beatles influenced them, because the Beatles were the exponents of Indian music in the 60s, and you know, if it wasn't for the Beatles, I'm sure that that wouldn't be here. Actually, I'm not sure, but you know, it may be that case, you know. Number 3, Communication Breakdown. It's maybe my favorite song by Led Zeppelin. I just love it. It fucking rocks. It rocks in such a way that I think to myself, like, oh my god, how did they do that in 1969? You know, considering that, you know, prior to 66, what was the hardest rocking song? Maybe The Kinks. I forgot the name of the song. Oh my god. You Really Got Me. I'm sorry, I had to pause because I forgot. But yeah, The Kinks, You Really Got Me. Maybe that was the hardest hidden rock track. Maybe My Generation, I don't know. But I'm saying like up to 69. Of course, we saw more heavier things, but this, I think, is groundbreaking. Guitar solo. Jimmy Page is just incredible on that. He's on fire. And I had a guitar teacher who told me that he's a really good Led Zeppelin, you know, he has a really good Led Zeppelin knowledge. And he said that up to Led 4, Jimmy Page improvised every single solo. And it sounds like it's improvised. And the way he plays the guitar, especially when he improvises, is that he plays a lot of really fast-paced and kind of confusing notes, and not that cleanly, which means that if you want to play like Jimmy Page, you shouldn't play a clean guitar, which is kind of, you know, confusing. It doesn't, it goes against what most of our guitar teachers teach us. So that's interesting. And we have I Can't Quit You Baby, which isn't a song by Led Zeppelin, and How Many More Times. To be honest, I don't have much to say about these two. I really like I Can't Quit You Baby. It's kind of like Baby I'm Gonna Leave You. It's not one of my favorites, but I really like it. How Many More Times, I feel it goes on for too long. I just gotta say it. It's 9 minutes long. Kinda, you know, doesn't need it. It didn't need actually to be that long, but I like it. It's good. Before we wrap it up, now the new ratings, the professional retrospective ratings actually gave up on trying to defend this was a bad album, because it isn't. It's a great album. So I'm seeing here, most of the ratings go like from 5 stars to maybe 4, which is really fair. That's why I'm giving Led Zeppelin 1 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Some songs just hit that much that the other songs that aren't on the same level just feel a little bit too boring. That's what I feel about, especially How Many More Times. Although I really like that song, I just feel like it's a little bit boring. Sometimes not as interesting as the other tunes. So this is it for Led Zeppelin 1. If you're watching this video, please tell me in the comments what you think about the album. Next album is going to be, of course, Led Zeppelin 2, which I don't have on vinyl. I just have Led Zeppelin 1 and 4 of the Led Zeppelin discography, because I live in Brazil and it's really hard and expensive to find good Led Zeppelin records here. So yeah, we'll talk later. Thank you very much. Have a good night and see you.